Hello there and welcome. It's Yvonne here from Women's Fitness Adventures. I have been streaming into your location for almost 12 years now, so thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about what readiness really looks like on a multi-day hike. So for those of you who know us well, you know that we have been teaching, training and taking, if you want to come with us on our awesome adventures all over the world, taking women on hiking adventures all over the world. So for 12 years, we've seen what it takes to be ready to be successful for a multi-day hike. We've heard all the stories, all the excuses, all the wishing and the longing, and all the amazing experiences that women have had, thousands of women over the 12 years. So I'm going to draw on a little bit of that experience tonight and share with you what readiness actually looks like, because we get lots of questions. We know that hiking is the big thing these days, and we get lots of questions from not only our members, but from women everywhere going, how do I know if I'm ready? What does it look like to be ready? I want to go on one of yours, or I want to go on someone else's. How does what you do translate over to what others do as well? So thank you for the love heart, whoever did that. And we've got Karen from Claremont, hello, and Marie from Lamington. So our Queenslanders are with us this afternoon. So thank you for joining us. So I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes. Something we know that our members certainly like is seeing some of our behind the scenes stuff. Just to how we assess what readiness actually looks like on the trail. And if you're new to us, you might be thinking, I'd love to do that, or you may have switched off already. And if you would love to do that and you're thinking, how do I do that? Let me explain. And if you are part of our world, we still have, no matter how many adventures we go on as individuals, no matter how fit we are, everyone has that moment of hesitation or readiness about, is this the right thing for me? So I'm just going to break it down a little bit so that you can understand how we assess what readiness is. And of course, if you've got questions or comments or lived experience, please just drop that in the comments below and I'll read them out as well. And if you do know us, say hi. If you don't know us, say hi as well, because it's really nice to know where you're watching from. So, when we expect someone, or what readiness looks like on a multi-day hike, is we know that it's not just about fitness. We expect fitness, and depending on what level of adventure you've chosen, which is introductory in our world, introductory, moderate, and challenging. And I know that varies across the whole hiking industry, not only within Australia, but globally as well. But no matter what level of adventure you choose on, and we help you choose that if you're uncertain, and we try and give as much description as we possibly can and do lots of pre-work with you, is that we assume that you have the fitness for that adventure. So we assume that you're not coming to the adventure with no level of fitness whatsoever, because fitness is a given. If you're coming on a hiking adventure, then you expect that there's going to be hiking involved, at least I hope you do, and that that you are required to move every day, depending on and how long every day depends on the level of adventure that you've chosen. But we also look for, when we look for adventure readiness, what sits alongside that. So, we expect you to be adventure ready. We give you, if you come on ours, the training plans. We give you, that guided 12 to 16 week structure around how to prepare for strength and cardio and endurance. So we expect that fitness is a given. And we also expect that whoever books on one of our adventures does their fair share of, doing that training. We can give that all to you, but, it's up to you to do it. So we expect that, readiness, your fitness preparation is part of that readiness. But, you need that baseline of strength and conditioning to be there in the first place. And again, it's level dependent, but what we consider intro, moderate and challenging may be different to other languages out there. What we consider mountains here in Australia are nothing like mountains in Europe. So we kind of make sure that when we put that into our descriptions, we really make that quite clear. We also put in elevation, gain and descent. And we know that, and we talk a lot about that in our Ready, Set, Go meetings where it's applicable. So there are meetings we have a couple of months before the adventure to make sure everyone's on track. But we train for all of this. We expect this. We don't apologize for giving you the training plan, for giving you the parameters around what cardio looks like, what strength looks like and what endurance looks like for the particular hike that you've booked on. But what we look for in someone's readiness for a hike when they're on the hike or in their conversations with us is how that shows up over multiple days, because we can perform really, really well on the first day, but a multi-day hike is that. It's multiple days of hiking. And we don't anticipate in all the training that you replicate the hike at all. You don't need to. If it's 100 kilometers in 5 days, you don't need to hike 100 kilometers over 5 days before you go to prove that you're ready. You just follow the plan, do the cardio, do the strength, do the endurance, bring the right mindset as well. But you have to do the work, and making the adventure a priority is a signal, is a big, strong sign of your readiness for a multi-day hiking adventure, because we all can fall in love. There are so many trails all over the world I would love to do. But there's some, I just cannot make the training for that one a priority. So I'm not going to book into one. I'm not going to do it. So, when we make it a priority, that also signals, make training our priority, we make space for it in our world, that also signals readiness for a multi-day hike. So what we watch for when we're out in our training, when we're out on a hike, or if someone who doesn't live near me and or any of our trainers and has access, or our leaders doesn't have access to us, is how do I know if I'm ready? I train on my own. I'm out in, further away from you. I can't get to where you are. How do I know if I'm ready? And, we look for and want to, and it only comes from experience, is how your feet place on the trail, how confident you feel on the trails. Now, when we go to new locations, we have generally not done, as individuals, done those trails before. So the way we, what we see on the trail, and as it unfolds, we might look and say, that looks great, or we might look and say, that looks like something I haven't done before. But if we have done our training, if we've shown up on trails, if we've, for example, if we give you a trail that we're going on a multi-day hike, and we know it's going to be reasonably rocky, we will encourage you to find some rocky trails to train on. We will encourage you in your, trail fit training to, roll up a towel and do your squats and lunges on a towel. So you're literally on an uneven surface and training your ankles to move and get stronger with every kind of little movement that you do. So when we see that someone is moving confidently with their feet, when we see that they're perhaps pausing, not in a scared way, but pausing, going, okay, I can see that path going that way. I'm going to pick my own path. So just a slight intentional pause, not hesitation. Then we know that there's some readiness there, that there's some confidence that's been built on the trail through the training, through the showing up with consistency, through that regularity of what it's like to get on the trail, feel my feet in my boots, feel my pack on my back, feel that weight under different surfaces over different terrains as well. So what we watch for in readiness and what we look for in ourselves is, how confidently am I placing my feet on the trail? Really important. How confidently, when I come to a surface that I'm not used to, or an incline or a decline in particular, going downhill, that kind of is a lot of, I say women because that's the world I'm in. That's a lot of women's concern is downhill, because we might slip over. So how confident am I feeling when I do that? And, a lot of the time, the only way we can get confidence is to just get out there and, practice on those trails, start to enjoy, start to spend time on our legs, time out in the outdoors, time with our backpack on, and that will build confidence over time. It's not about always doing it the same trail though. You can reverse the trail. If you've only got one trail, you can do small repeats, you can speed it up, you can slow it down, lots of different ways you can use the one trail to really start to experiment. But the other thing we look for in terms of readiness on a multi-day hike, and you can take this into your own training, and hello Kathleen and hello Marianne, is breathing and posture. So breathing and posture tells us how someone's training has transferred to the trail. So I was just talking about hiking downhill, and we know we have this saying here at Women's Fitness Adventures is that when we walk downhill, we walk like a duck, like we have a big wet nappy on, and we really start to push our feet into the earth, and we start to literally plod along like this whilst remaining upright. So our butt, our glutes take the load. They take the load off our knees. They take the, a lot of pressure off the quads, and they give us that stability and really lower the center of gravity a little bit. So, but when we're scared and going downhill, we're really hunched over, and we might start to breathe really shallow, or when we're going uphill, we might start to breathe really, really heavily. Not that there's anything wrong. We all have to breathe, and we all have to breathe heavily when we are going up a hill, or heavily for ourselves. But it's, how do I recover from that? How do I dread the hill at the beginning, whether I'm going up or down? Do I get short of breath? Do I get nervous about it? Do I get anxious about it? Do I clench over? Do I clench my teeth? Do I grip my poles so much harder? So, efficient breathing and posture. So yes, we might get puffed going up the hill, but how quickly does our breath return to normal? Which tells me that you've been doing the cardio work. So as you map it over to your own training and you think, well, I love hiking and I hate the hills and I never do them. So I would suggest that your readiness is almost there, but needs some work in terms of the cardio and how you feel about getting out of breath and how you recover as well. It also tells us that, that you're an all-rounder, that you can, because a trail isn't all up, and a trail and a multi-day hike isn't all down, and it isn't generally all flat either. And even if they say they're flat, they're not particularly flat. So, an all-rounder is that my skills may not be the best on the uphill, but I can excel on the flat, and I can, hold my own on the downhill. And that makes you an all-rounder, because at the end of the day, we all average out to be, that certain pace per hour across a whole day that we're aiming for. So, that's why we train the strength and the endurance together, the time on our legs and the strength in our legs. That's why we train that together, and then bring in the cardio as well. And all of that combines to this feeling of adventure readiness. We're never going to feel that we're, well, I think it's rare. Even when I go now on trails, new adventures, I'm heading off on one this week. Oh, hey, Denise. Heading off on one this week to New Zealand. I've done the trail before, but, every time there is that little bit of hesitation. Have I kept up my training? Have I been focused on the things that I actually need for this adventure? How is my readiness? And, that keeps us on our toes. It keeps us forward focused, and it keeps us, really looking forward to, staying motivated and keeping that adventure a priority. So the other thing we look for in adventure readiness is that it's one thing to be really super excited every single day, but it's another thing to only be excited on the first day and go for it, as fast as you can, as far as you can, and burn out, and end of the day, drag yourself to the, your sleeping quarters, and you're done. You're so sore. You're so tired for the next day. You feel fatigued. You feel exhausted. You don't want to talk to anyone. What we know with readiness is that those who have prepared and are ready and are fit for their chosen adventure, they are able to show up every day. They manage the load. They don't burn out early. They have that, I guess, as I said before, that experience, that, just time under their legs, time on their legs, of just consistently showing up to know what it feels like. But we also know that someone's ready when they know when to push, and they know when to back off, so they can manage it for the next day. So one of the very first adventures, the very first adventure that we did was the Great Ocean Road hike in Victoria, and we did that in 2014. So it's 12 years on now, and this year will be taking my 10th year, I think, on that trail. There was 1 or 2 years where one of the other leaders did it, and I know that trail like the back of my hand. I know when we need to push, and I know when we need to go slow, but I only know that through experience. But I can teach the group these skills as we go, so that everyone who goes on this adventure with us is successful in completing, that 100 kilometers over the entire week. But, the other thing is, how do we know when someone's ready? Because in a multi-day hike, and especially a multi-day hike with us, and it's a bit different when you go with other groups, might just book onto a random hike out there for a location you want to go to. So it's a little bit different with us because we do operate as a team, and it's about friendships, and it's about support. And somewhere along the way, our adventures shift from being all about you, the individual, still achieving all of your goals, to about how you show up in a team, and that readiness and preparation for a team. And there's something really, really rewarding about being part of a hiking team, because at the end of the day, the memories that you take away are the things that you want to live with you for a long, long time. You've invested time, you've invested money, you've invested energy and effort into this. And you want to be able to walk away not just with the photographic memories or the physical memories, but also the friendships and the stories that will live on for a long time. So we know in our world, when someone's ready, is that they're aware of the whole group. They're aware that no matter how fit you are, someone might have a bad day, and the group needs to, reorder and move itself around and have conversations with everyone to lift and encourage and motivate and inspire. And that how you move well within a group. You don't have to be the loudest, you don't have to be the quietest, you don't have to be always at the front or always at the back, and you don't have to be always having something to say or having nothing to say at all. It's just about how you move and feel within the group. And the women who understand groups really thrive on being in that group environment. And one of our members said to me the other day, there isn't any I in team. There isn't. That's what we're about. We're about the team. And we know then that if you're about the team, then, you're in the right place. So fitness matters in terms of multi-day hiking adventure readiness. And if most of you watching live that have said hello here, I know and have hiked with you, or have heard about your hiking through one of our other leaders. So that fitness matters, but you also know that those other elements of readiness matter, that fitness alone does not guarantee a good multi-day hiking experience. It is those who have trained, those who respect the process of what a multi-day adventure is in terms of just arriving there at the first place. We all as women have lots going on. We all can come up with excuses every single day. And I could show you on my phone, I never delete a message, there's thousands on there, of training that we do, and how the excuses of I'm not coming today, and that same name keeps coming up every single time. I get it. There is so much stuff that goes on for us as women. But if we want to move to a place of hiking and adventure and outdoors and new friendship and things like that, then somehow we have to shift and go, okay, this little part is for me. I may not make it perfectly. I may not have the exact formula and follow the training plan the way that lady does or that lady does, but that training plan has given me the guideline, and it's part of my readiness and part of my preparation. But the other thing is I have to get in here that I'm part of a team, that I need to get confident by showing up and consistently doing my training, by, putting my pack on and getting used to what that looks like, by asking questions. Never be afraid to ask questions about a multi-day hike, no matter who you go with. Never, never, never. That's really important, because the more you can understand about the experience that you've invested time and money in, it's just going to be so much better. Nothing needs to be a mystery about a multi-day hiking adventure. Ask away. So, and we know that training wisely, we know there's hiccups, we allow for that. But we also know that those who are ready are really there for fun. They've done the work with the training. They know what's in their backpack. They know that sometimes the plan might change and we may not get to that summit, but there would be a good reason for it. That we may have to don the raincoats because the weather is pelting down, or switch from today's hike to tomorrow's hike due to, weather or wind or something like that. Or a road closure or something, but they know that that's just part of the fun. That's part of the stories. That's part of the memories that you take back from a multi-day hiking adventure. So as we finalize our 2026 adventures, there's only a few spots left on some of those right through to the end of the year. We've got some awesome Greece and Turkey, which, you know, the Lycian Way in Turkey is fast becoming one of the best multi-day hikes in the world. Our Crete adventure, if you just, you got to love the Greek hospitality. It is superb. We've got our Murray River as well. But as we look towards our 2027 adventures, because we know a lot of our community is looking for what we're doing in 2027, which is really, really exciting. I just wanted to share with you that's how we assess readiness. It doesn't mean you have to be the fittest or the fastest. It means you need to have chosen well for the type and level of fitness adventure that you're choosing, and then start to get yourself ready for that. Readiness in terms of, I understand. And, you know, there are organizations out there that say pack-free hiking. We don't do pack-free hiking. I am not carrying your lunch for you. I am not carrying your water for you. I'm not carrying your raincoat for you. So unless a guide is actually doing that for you, you do need a pack on your back. You know, we need to be, we're independent women. We need to be self-sufficient. It doesn't mean we're carrying 20 kilos on our back, but we're carrying our lunch, we're carrying our water, we're carrying our raincoat, depending where we're going. So we know that the women who come with us, if you've been on one of our adventures, or you're considering one of our adventures, or you've been in our world for a little while, we know that we train you to be capable, to be prepared, and ready to step fully into that experience. And we know what effect it has. You know, we're 12 years on now, and I was chatting with one of our members this morning, and she said, I remember the day that you joined us. And she said, that was 10 years ago. And I said to her, and you disappeared then and then you came back. And she said, I disappeared because I met all of you and I was so inspired by all of you. And I wanted to go on a yoga retreat to India, and I'd never been away on my own. And I just went and did it. And that just was the catalyst. And I've never looked back. And so we know that when we put the right women in the right space, that they prepare, they do the training, they commit to themselves, this whole big other world opens up. And we just give you part of the formula. You're the other part that makes the cake successful. So if that's you, if I'm speaking to you, then reach out, say hello, ask me what would work for you, and let's have a chat. Our leaders have so much skill around women's fitness, around women, in midlife, and how we move through the world. You know, if we're not personal trainers, we're physios. We've got lots and lots of decades combined of trail experience around the world, and travel as well. But, you know, if that's you and you know that you're prepared to put in the training for your chosen level of adventure, some will choose intro, some will choose moderate, some will choose challenging, some will choose them all, then you'll understand why we do it that way at Women's Fitness Adventures. So that's all I wanted to share today, what readiness is. And readiness is the whole package. So thank you for joining me. Hello, Heather. Hello, Christine. And Christine. And thank you. And I look forward to catching up with you. It'll be sometime next week in New Zealand, but I can't guarantee it'll be exactly the same time, but I will beam in live. So thank you. I'll catch you next time. Bye.